Westcast.
Now things will start kicking ass, just like it said at the beginning of the program.
Man of the hour, tower of power, too sweet to be sour.
Sending your ass on the jabroni jet to the other side of the territory, brother.
The Alabama Hammer.
Nightmares on the best part of my day. The goods from the wood.
Hot damn.
Welcome to the Goods in the Woods. This is Rivers Langley.
Pat Riley.
Mr. Goodnight, man of the hour, tower of power, too sweet to be sour.
And today we have a very special guest.
Supersonic sex appeal here tonight at Disgraceland.
Disgraceland to lay the sexual energy coming out through the radio into your homes, into your heart, and if you're a beautiful woman out there, hopefully into your pants, comment anytime, because I live on Sepulveda.
We're on the podcast system.
We're on the satellite system.
We're on the laser beam system.
We're on the microwave system.
My fault.
Your fault. San Andreas' fault.
Thank you. This has been the Goods from the Woods. The Goods from the Woods is produced by me, Rivers Langley.
This is a Westcast production.
Wow, I don't even know.
This is like
It fucks me up. It fucked me up.
See,
Like,
we're fucking with your mind because you're thinking, am I in some kind of bizarro universe or some shit?
I don't know. Like, I didn't start, so I don't know. I'm lost. I don't even know how to transition.
You're like
into,
Gilligan or some shit. Let's make a point about Gilligan. Seriously. The professor, God bless him, he died recently.
Real quick, let's introduce our guest today. Is
Who's the guest for tonight, baby?
Yeah, let's introduce our guest.
the wonderful, the talented Fontana, California's own
Kevin Macias.
Yes.
Yes.
go.
Thanks for
Okay.
having me, guys.
Now go on with
Oh,
Gilligan,
yeah, Gilligan. The professor was fucking both them girls.
and now he's dead.
Actually, both the girls are the only ones still alive.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
But-
Ginger never shows up for the reunion.
yeah,
Ginger's angry, isn't she?
Yeah.
She's angry because Marianne got more love letters.
Marianne, I always thought Marianne was better looking.
I always thought Marianne was better looking.
Marianne, like Ginger had the glamour and she played the role well, but just talking about like pure woman, Ginger was a better looking woman. She was a Miss like Nevada.
But
or
I
some
think
shit.
one of the things is that
Good to have
people found that the Ginger character was kind of the level of glamour was inaccessible.
It was too high.
Yeah, it was like
And-
one of those things
yeah.
where Marianne had that very sort of girl next door,
Yeah.
tomboy
Wish I lived in
thing.
that fucking neighborhood.
Which really, yeah, which really, I think most men like tomboys.
It's
I
an
think.
attainable thing. It's my
It's not
the
so
Amy
much-
Adams thing.
Yeah, I don't even think it's so much of an attainable thing. It's a thing where it's like a relatability thing, a thing where you feel like you can relate on a certain level.
Yeah.
Pat wrote a book called The Sociology of Gilligan's Island.
Yeah, I did. I have a paper coming out in American Sociological Review about the Harlem Globetrotters.
Remember
It's a very Bruno Latour thing. It's the interface between robots and man. So it's the interface between basketball playing robots
that was-
and the Harlem Globetrotters.
Yeah, the Harlem Globetrotters on Gilligan's Island where they play basketball against robots.
In a few moments, you're going to see the most unusual event in the entire history of sports, we think. The Harlem Globetrotters against the New Invincibles. And the New Invincibles are robots. Yep, you heard right, robots. And this is going to be the basketball game of the century.
Better than Space Jam, I'll have to say.
I think I preferred Space Jam.
No, fuck.
No, look.
No,
Someday in
What
the
did you
future.
like about Space Jam?
Someday in the future, we're going to say, look, it's like, remember we're talking about the WWF roster in like 1991? It's just like that. You had Bill Murray, you had Bugs Bunny, and you had Michael Jordan all in the same place.
But they didn't beat a real tough team because if you
they were
look at the
cartoons?
talent that the aliens took from, they took Sean Bradley's talent. How the hell are you going to win? The 76ers drafted him like third overall. The 76ers sucked after they drafted Sean Bradley. He was like the worst. Then they took Larry Johnson's talent, and Grandma Ma had a very short career span. They took Muggsy Bogues' talent. Muggsy Bogues was not even a top 20 point guard in his
but he
day.
could dunk.
yeah,
No, he could dunk. Spud Webb could dunk. They should have took Spud Webb's talent.
Well, a
confuse
lot
Muggsy
of
Bogues and Spud
draft
Webb
picks,
sometimes.
a lot of draft picks don't pan out. And when you think about these aliens are really just playing their own, like putting together their own fantasy team.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it doesn't pan out all that well.
They could have taken a balanced team with like a Scottie Pippen, a Gary Payton.
I would have taken
They
Bill
would have been
Russell.
available, and I think Gary Payton would have loved to have been on that movie because
Young or
of the
old
fact-
Gary Payton, because when you put a fantasy team together with Gary Payton, it doesn't work out like that Lakers team. It was
Yeah,
Peyton.
well, it's going to be young Gary
Malone.
Payton because of the.
What was
the
it?
time
Peyton,
period.
Malone, Shaq, Kobe get to the finals and get blown out in 4.
Carl Malone.
How did the
Ugh,
Harlem
the
Globetrotters
mailman.
get off Gilligan's Island?
I
know.
think wasn't there something in that where they got off the island in a previous TV movie, and now they open the island as like a resort.
I think so. Yeah.
Is that how they went back?
Yeah, well, it
It
wasn't.
was like
even
a
the
Stockholm
first-
syndrome sort of thing
Yeah,
where they
it was
stuck
exactly.
around.
It wasn't even the first Gilligan's Island TV movie. There'd already been like a return from Gilligan's Island.
I
Because
remember the TV movie. They go back because they're like, let's just go on one last voyage as friends, and then they end up on the same island.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
And this one, like they were back on the island, but it was a resort or some shit.
Why wouldn't you go on a road trip?
I know, right? Stay off the
Gilligan's
boats.
Stay away from the fucking
You're not
water.
good with boats.
Yeah, you got a bad streak with the water.
My
No,
favorite
because
way
they
that
would have
got
ran
off-
out of gas and ended up in like Reno or something like that.
Yeah, but you can get out of Reno.
No, you can't get out of Reno. Once you get into Reno, you can't leave Reno.
Gilligan's
man.
Island trapped in Reno.
Gilligan's Mesa.
My favorite way they almost got off was they made a jetpack for Gilligan to fly off the island with and then call for help. And they put a radio on him that the professor gave him, and he starts flying away. And then he hears on the radio that there's a UFO in the area, which is him. He's the unidentified flying object. And he freaked out. He thought aliens were going to kidnap him, so then he just went back to the island.
If the professor could make a jetpack, why couldn't he just make a two-way radio?
Why couldn't he just make a boat? They're on an island full of trees. Make
Just
a boat.
tie the
Shit, Pat.
jetpack to
Well,
a boat
you
and stick
know-
it in the water.
You know this shit, Pat, from your academic days. I mean, professors ain't really as practical.
No, they're
as
not.
the professor
They're
on
not.
Gilligan's
They
Island.
he just published one article probably
Yeah.
early in a flagship journal and just made it through tenure and became deadweight faculty and was like, I could teach that class that I don't want to teach with the undergraduates, but I can always cancel class and just go to the island.
Why, if you could make a jetpack, why not road flares? Or just like something to shoot into the
Well,
air
they
to let
have
people
have-
know you're
they
coming.
probably had to have flares on the boat.
How did the Harlem Globetrotters get out of Scooby-Doo world? How's about that?
Do you remember the
That's
cartoon?
a completely
They had
different
a
dimensional.
cartoon.
Well, they have
set.
their own van.
They
They
had
could-
their own cartoon where they were superheroes. Remember that shit?
Yeah, I
Where
know.
did they get their superpowers? Or where did their superpowers go?
They sucked the life out of the Washington
Did
Generals.
you remember? You remember fucking Curly Neal's head would turn into a basketball and all this shit? I'm not making this shit up.
What good is that?
I before we get into the topic, one of the funniest things I ever heard was relating to Gilligan's Island, kind of tangentially. Is my best friend in the world, Chris, was at his girlfriend's mother's house, and her mother's boyfriend was there, and he was this redneck guy, and they were watching Survivor. And he's just like, well, these people are a bunch of idiots. They can't get it. If I was on the island, I'd run that shit. I'd like be making battery-powered, like, coconuts and stuff, and I would own that island. I would be the ultimate survivor.
Well, I hope you understand. I just had to go back to the island.
Our topic for today, there are two people in this room who have the best dad stories I've ever heard, those being our intrepid co-host, Pat Riley, and our guest, Kevin
And you
Macias.
probably have some good dad stories,
I have
too.
a few.
We don't know much about River's dad, and we don't know much about Goodnight's dad, who is a mythological creature in and of himself.
That's true, because like mythological creatures, he does not live in this world anymore.
I got you.
But yeah, so dads is that
Rivers
was-
got to meet my dad yesterday.
Yeah,
Really?
I did
You did?
actually. Yeah, I did get to meet.
Is
your
he
dad.
scary looking?
No,
He's scary looking to me. So I wonder if he's scary looking to everybody.
No, he just seems like a really nice, put together,
He's a cool
looking
guy.
dude. Yeah.
He's
So,
all right.
well, but let's start. I mean, why is your dad your dad?
Sometime after the
Archetype.
show, Pat, I'll take you aside and we'll have that talk.
Okay.
My dad, he grew up with weird parents. Like they were not nice people. I don't know them very well, but when I would have run-ins with, I had one run-in with my dad's dad, and we were driving home, and we were getting off on the freeway, and my dad leaned out the window, and he's like, "Oh shit, that's my dad." Just walking down the street. His dad lived in Los Angeles, and I lived in Fontana, which are like an hour away from each other. So you don't just like end up in Fontana. And my dad was just like, "Dad, what are you doing?" And he was just like, where am I?" And he's like, "You're a mile away from my kid's house." And then those are the interactions I only ever had with my grandpa. So like those things are what made my dad. Plus he grew up with, there's 7 kids in there, and they just had the craziest stories. Like him and his older brother used to love to play this game where they would just throw cutlery at each other. They would sit at the end of tables, and they would throw cutlery at each other. And my dad, to this day, has this 4-pronged mark. You know, like, if you were Buddhist, right where your third eye is, it's right. He popped up too soon, and a fork was coming at him. And then just got stuck in his head. So, like, those are the stories.
It's like the Three Stooges.
Yes. Yeah, but they were trying to hurt each other
They never
with
had
love.
marks.
Yeah.
They never had marks.
Curly's
Well,
forehead looked like Abdullah the Butcher.
I mean, a pie doesn't leave much of a mark.
Well, but I
Just
mean, they would use saws.
emotionally.
They would use all kinds of
That's
things.
true.
Depends on what kind of pie. It could be a dense pecan pie
Has
shot
any-
at
can I
a.
just ask this? Has anybody here ever been in a pie fight?
I have.
Never.
You're lucky, man, Pat. I tried to get one going once just because I was like, look, when do you actually get the opportunity to be in a pie fight? I actually tried to get one going once, but nobody was taken.
Isn't that just a waste of pie?
If you really want to create the effect, you get one real pie, like one apple pie or one cherry pie. I prefer a cherry pie because it's a better visual because the person has red.
Yeah.
Plus,
Or
it's a
blueberry even.
Blackberry.
Blueberry would be good.
It's a shitty pie, so it's worth wasting.
Bite your tongue.
I hate cherry pie.
And what you do is you use the rest of the pies and just get like crappy pre-made crusts and just
Fill it with whipped cream.
fill it with cream. Just have it be like a
Or
cream
shaving
pie.
cream. It's
Yeah.
just going in people's
Well,
face.
shaving cream, you're going to end up getting that medicinal taste in your mouth.
Well, isn't that what the Stooges used?
yeah.
Shaving cream?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
My nickname in middle school was Cherry. I didn't know what a cherry was.
Middle school or prison?
No, in middle school. In middle school, I didn't know that cherry was a pseudonym for vagina. I didn't know that. And then for my birthday, my teacher had given me a red balloon, and some kid popped it as I was walking through the schoolyard. And someone was like, he popped your cherry. And then just for the next 3 years, I was Cherry to everybody.
So your dad. I think one of the good things of having a bombastic
Intense.
father.
Uh-huh.
But I think bombastic's the word to use.
Okay.
You always have dad
Bombastic.
stories.
Yes.
Lay them out. What are they?
One dad story. Well, one that I like to talk about a lot is the time he beat up the guy at the Taco Bell parking lot. My dad had a friend that they were really close with, and they would always get into trouble together. And he was with him, and I have 3 other brothers, so we're in the back. And then that guy had a daughter, so she was in the back. And this guy's just honking the horn at my dad as he's like messing with the lady as he's ordering the food. Yeah. And my dad was like, if you honk that horn again, I'm going to rip you out of your car and beat your ass. And then that guy, like, he just challenged him. He honked it again. And my dad just ran and, like, pulled him out of the window, like, grabbed him and ripped him out of the window, and then just beat his ass. And then just drove back to that guy's house where we just ate the tacos and never talked about it again. We just never talked about it again. And, like, it's serious. At the end, my dad asked if I tell jokes about him. I tell that story. And he was like, I don't remember that. I don't think I ever did that.
I guess that's fair enough.
Yeah, he told the guy not to
told
honk.
him. Yeah.
He told him. I just feel like, because you know you have bad days where you're just like, I just need a fucking chalupa.
Yeah.
And I need to calm down. And like, work's been too much. And that was that guy's day.
Yeah.
And then he's got to go home to his wife. And it's just like, I couldn't get you the tacos. I knew you wanted dinner. But I challenged a man. And he won.
My dad's my hero. He's the coolest guy on the planet in my book. And there's a lot of things I can go into my dad, but first off, my dad's an insane athlete. My dad is an insane athlete, and when you looked at him, he looked like a dad. You know, he had that dad look, like boat shoes, kind of light, washed out jeans and a t-shirt or something like that. And like the dad kind of beer gut a little bit.
Yeah.
But he was an insane athlete. Like, I remember one time I was outside in the driveway and I was like, I was just shooting baskets at a basketball hoop in my driveway. My dad walks out of the house. He's got non-alcoholic beer in a koozie, one hand, cigarette screwed into his lips. He just looks at me and he's like, "Hey, Patrick, throw me the ball." And he's standing about a good 30 feet from the hoop. Beer in one hand, cigarette in his mouth, takes the ball, dribbles it between his legs with one hand, which I've never seen done, and just hook shot 30 feet away, drains it. Nothing but net. And I was like,
They could've used
holy
him on Gilligan's Island.
crap. Yeah. Like he was
Shot him
this
off
sort
the
of
island.
weird R-rated Harlem Globetrotter. Like they could have gotten him out for the Harlem Globetrotters.
White
He drains
Harlem
it.
Globetrotter.
And then there were guys across the street, like, doing construction on a house. And they saw it, and they're like, "Hey, bet you can't do that again." And he's like, "Screw you. Throw me the ball, Patrick." dribble, 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 woof, hits it again a second time.
This sounds like the opening to Happy Gilmore.
Yeah, it's insane. He did it 3 times in a row. And the guys across the street were like, oh my God, that's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. My dad almost did it a 4th time, but it did that thing where it hit the back of the hoop and then clanked up and went up.
Yeah.
It was just, my God. My dad, at age 39, they had a church festival and they had a radar gun. And if you pitched the fastest pitch at the church carnival, you would get like an all expense paid to like Hawaii or something like that. My dad comes out and he's just like, I haven't thrown a ball in 2 years. And they're like, I'll give it a try. He goes there, first pitch, 85 miles an hour.
Whoa.
85. He's 39. This is like the beginning of a friggin' Disney movie.
Yeah.
Second one, 87. Third one, 88.
Wow.
And he missed it because they got some guy from San Jose State who was on the college baseball team who was an actual pitcher, throw 89.
Would Randy Quaid play your dad in this
He
movie?
probably would. No, probably Tom Selleck. My dad looks
Tom
like a
Selleck.
very
Fuck Randy Quaid. It'd be Dennis Quaid.
a very gray Tom Selleck.
Which one drove the plane into the spaceship on?
That'd be Randy.
Okay, I meant Dennis Quaid. I said Randy.
I know. Not Cousin Eddie.
There
Not
you go.
Cousin Eddie, no.
I was playing basketball with my dad one time. It was me and my dad against my older brother and some other
There's
kid.
something amazing about dad athletics.
Dad athletics. It was awesome.
Unbelievable.
It was awesome. My brother shot a basket from the 3 and he missed it and then just sprinted and jumped and grabbed the ball and then dunked it over me. And my dad was so mad that I didn't box him out. He grabbed the basketball and he chucked it at my face. and I ducked, and my brother's celebrating this amazing feat that he just did. Just got beamed in the side of the basketball.
Yeah, my dad, archery, probably one of the things my dad hates the most in life is bowling. He thinks it's the worst thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. I don't know what, some bad experience with bowling. I remember when I was a kid, we were going bowling with some friends of ours, and my dad's just like, I hate this shit. I don't want to do this shit. This is horrible. I hate bowling, blah, blah, blah. He goes up there, and he bowls a 220. Cold. Just flings that thing, 16-pound ball, just strike. And then afterwards, he was like, oh, that sucked. Just
Does your dad have a soft spot?
Oh,
Could
yeah.
he be a softie?
Yeah, he is. He's a very gruff guy, and he's a very gruff guy, but he's an absolute sweetheart.
Uh-huh.
And it's funny because when my fiance came to visit the first time, she was just like, "Oh my, your dad's has this very gruff thing." They were playing miniature golf, and he was just very he was like, "Oh, it looks like Jen's winning," and he was marking the score for her down and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just he likes to give hugs. He's a super sweet guy, super nice guy, just shirt off your back kind of dude.
Yeah.
Very, very generous. But there's that dad gruffness.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if your dad, your dad has that sort of hard ass sort of thing going. But is he one of those people that once you break through the exterior is just a,
You don't have to
it's
break
like
through.
a
He'll
cactus.
give it to you.
Yeah, okay.
He'll
yeah.
give it to you. I've called my dad, and he was just crying one time.
Yeah.
And I was like, what's wrong? And he was like, I'm just watching The Notebook. And it's at the end, and he's dying with her. That's so sweet. And I was like,
spoiler?
no
Why
one's, you
not?
can't spoil The Notebook for anybody. Anyone who wanted to see The Notebook has seen
Seen
The
the
Notebook.
notebook, yeah. They've seen it on a laptop somewhere.
Best part about that is a couple months later, I call my dad again, and he's crying, and I'm like, Dad, what's wrong? Are you watching The Notebook or something? He was watching The Notebook again. He owns 2 copies of The Notebook, and he will gladly watch it with you.
Yeah.
My dad's the only person that watched Trouble with the Curve and was totally just into it.
Yeah.
Of just she connected with her dad at the end.
Oh,
That
yeah.
was so sweet.
My dad, I might have told this on here already, but if I haven't, whatever. When I first got into Boy Scouts, we were going on our first canoe trip, and my dad was like, there's a movie about canoeing that you just got to see. And I was 10, and we were into Deliverance. And we got a bucket of KFC, and my mom was at book club or something, so it was just the 2 of us watching fucking Deliverance when I was 10. My dad is very quiet. All he likes in life is hunting and fishing and just watching TV and doing yard work. Like he's a really simple
What kind of hunting?
deer,
Deer,
rifle
okay.
hunting.
What kind of fishing?
Just anything.
Regular old fishing?
Doesn't matter.
It's not like
Bridge
one guy-
fishing or boat fishing or
fly fishing.
all of
Fly
it.
fishing?
Not
I don't
ev-
like
deep
fly
sea
fishing.
fishing?
everything.
I don't
but-
like fishing.
I love
fishing's
fishing.
good. I don't like fly fishing though, because fly fishing is where fishing approaches being work.
Yeah,
And that's why
exactly.
I
You're
won't do
just
it.
kind of that's
that's a skill set that's just way too
and
tough.
fishing is not about skill.
Yeah,
No,
it's
my-
about drinking beer and
Exactly.
then
That's right.
Hanging out on the boat.
complaining. Yeah,
Yeah, my dad does just everything but fly fishing, basically. So I've been deep sea fishing with him before. My favorite thing he ever told me was he has a friend who used to live in Auburn and now lives down around Jacksonville and Neptune Beach. And he owns a boat. So my dad will go down and take the boat out with him and stuff. And he had a friend on board for a day trip. And then at the end of the day, the friend goes home and dad and his friend are sitting around drinking a beer. And he was like, "Oh, by the way, what does so and so do for work?" He's like, "Oh, he's retired. He used to be a guitar player, though. He used to be a musician." And he's like, "Oh, really?" He's like, "Yeah, he was in what's the name of that band? He was a guitar player for Kansas." And my dad is a huge fan, and he had no idea he was fishing with one of the guitar players from Kansas all day.
is it the weirdo with the eye patch?
No, I don't think it was the guy with the eye patch. I'm not sure exactly which guitar player.
I don't even know what the guy with the eye patch does in Kansas outside of look menacing. There's just some dude with an eye patch.
Well, there's also Dr. Hook, too.
He had like a legit eye missing.
Yeah.
I don't know if the guy from Kansas had a
Well,
legit eye
David
mission.
Bowie was fooling around with the eye patch thing.
Yeah.
for a
I
while.
think more people should fool with the eye patch
Yeah,
thing.
Major Blood. Remember him? He was a bad guy from G.I. Joe, and he looked smashing with that eye patch.
Eric von Stroheim had an eye patch.
Yeah, exactly. Let's face it. The Prussian officer look really needs to come back.
Yeah, yeah. I always thought that you need some jodhpurs. Actually,
I
Mr. Goodnight.
agree. I love jodhpurs. I will wear them any fucking time. Seriously. I would. Have you ever watched Hogan's Heroes High?
No, I have.
I was watching Hogan's Heroes High the other night, and I swear to God, it was one of the few times I seriously thought I was going to die laughing. I mean,
Are joggers jogging loafers?
those, them like big puffy pants that people used to wear when they're riding horses.
Oh,
Okay,
wow,
okay, yeah, okay.
like riding breeches.
or like old school motorcycle pants.
Yeah. You got that. You got a Sam Brown belt, maybe a few medals and
Get
shit
some
like that.
epaulets.
Yeah, I don't mind. A little bit of Prussian militarism. Because let's face it, if there was one thing we can say for the Germans, they could dress.
Mm-hmm.
There's no doubt about that. But I mean, even Hitler. I mean, he was. Let's face it, folks. Don't be like Hitler. He was one of history's assholes. But notice that he did bother to dress well.
Well, it was
Let's
all
give him-
aesthetics. His whole thing was aesthetics.
Yeah,
You know.
fascism's big on that. Mussolini.
Yeah,
He was
Mussolini.
he was a cut up.
Yeah.
And if he didn't wear such a funny hat, which made him look like some kind of like militarist,
Shiner.
paramilitary Shriner. Yeah, exactly. Seriously, Mussolini, good dresser. Prussian officers, good dress. How the hell did we get off into Prussian militarism and shit?
That was
I
all
don't
you,
know.
Mr. Goodnight.
Oh, yeah, it's always me.
Gaddafi best dresser.
I gotta say this.
Oh, my
Gaddafi
God.
had so many different outfits. Remember the one that looked like Christopher Columbus?
Yeah.
Yes.
Seriously, Gaddafi. I mean, he was probably a big asshole, but let's give him
Probably.
credit. You meet a bad end, but I mean, if you live a life where you have anything you want, and if the end of it's bad, does it really matter?
Yeah,
That's
it's like, is
kinda
it a good movie if the last 5 minutes suck? Yes,
but
it's
if
still
you
a good
enjoy
movie.
the rest of it, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's still a good movie.
I mean, there is the whole issue of the afterworld and things like this, but if there's not, I mean, he's living high on the hog.
Well, he thought he was God, so he's just going back home.
My favorite part of Gaddafi was, remember when he had an all-female bodyguard?
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah,
he
that's
looked
the
like
best.
Robert Palmer.
Oh, yeah. No, that's
I think for the most part, the good leaders are terrible dressers.
Caesar dressed all right.
Like political leaders, because Martin Luther King was a snappy dresser, Malcolm X snappy dresser.
Yeah. Rock a suit.
Yeah, but like for political leaders, with the exception of Teddy Roosevelt, I want to see like Bill Clinton in like a Ric Flair robe.
Well,
I want him wearing
He's a good
Gaddafi's
dresser.
You know what
clothes.
it is, though? It's like, the presidents don't want to be.
God,
too
we went on a
imperial.
tangent.
Yeah.
I was in a room with Clinton one time.
Really?
That is the first time I've ever felt the entire room turn to one man.
Did he hit on you?
No, I wish. I would have went with him. He was fucking amazing. You could see all the girls just like, whoa.
He was
of
a
all
funny
ages,
guy.
and
He was like President Elvis.
he was President Elvis, yeah.
He's president emeritus as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Like he's our guy.
here's
He
the
gets to
thing,
fill in
and
if the
people
president's
whined
sick
about
any
him
day.
like you wouldn't fucking believe when he was president. And it's like, isn't this the guy everybody wanted as president? This guy'd smoke a fucking joint with you. He wouldn't inhale, but he'd smoke a
Yeah.
fucking joint with you
Yeah.
and watch some Gilligan's Island or something. Have some McDonald's.
I really like Marianne.
Is Gilligan's Island on? Oh, that depends what the meaning of is.
Ginger gives good head.
What did your dad do for a living, Rivers?
My dad was a science teacher.
Okay.
He taught physics and chemistry in high school
Cool.
in Lafayette, Alabama. We lived in Auburn. He would commute to Lafayette every day. And he taught there for 30 years. His first 20 years, he was teaching physics and chemistry. His last 10 years, nobody in the school made it far enough to chemistry or physics. Like the school was just performing so poorly that he ended up he was teaching like regular like physical science and the graduation exam essentially.
How do you not make it to? It's the second class. Isn't it biology, chemistry, physics?
It's physical science, biology, then chemistry, then physics normally. But most people in the school wouldn't make it that far. So he was just teaching remedial and the graduation exam. I'm not that smart, but I passed that fucker in 8th grade. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the graduation exam in Alabama is very easy. It's literally the science question. I remember it had a picture of like a turkey track, and it was like, what kind of animal made this track? A bird, a snake. You're like, oh.
You didn't even have to say turkey. You just had to say
No,
bird.
it literally had like a bird, a deer, a snake,
fish.
a fish, or something. And you're like, what the fuck? Who couldn't answer this? So that's what he was teaching, and it was funny because I got him into Breaking Bad, and he was doing Walter White's job.
Yeah.
And he watched it, and got like a season in, and I was like, oh, what? Are you enjoying it? He's like, yeah, I like the show, but how does he get so much time off work? Like, he was just like, he was like mad that Walter White got all these days off to cook meth. He was like, I worked for 30 years. I only got a week off.
Question 15. Pseudoephedrine, drain cleaner, blank. A.
You know what I hated about those tests?
B. Cotton candy. C. Water.
I always hated when they made you do the reading portion. You'd have to read like a short story,
Yeah.
and then they'd give you a bunch of questions. And the first question was always, "What would you name this story?" And I was like, "That's not a logical question. I can just pick whatever, and that's an appropriate name."
And the story was always bad.
Wait,
it was always about like something. I remember on the SATs they had a prompt about Bruce Lee, and it blew my mind because I was like, "Oh my god, something I can relate to."
The hip
It's usually
SATs.
about like impressionist painting or like ballet or something like that.
Well, ballet, there's good-looking women that
I
do
love
that.
impressionist painting.
Yeah,
This tangent wasn't even my fault.
But
Standardized tests.
Pops is from New York City originally, and then he moved to Woodland, Alabama when he was in 5th grade. And I think this actually sums up my dad perfectly. As I asked him, like, oh, what was that like, moving from literally the biggest city in the whole world to Woodland, Alabama, which is like, 150, 200 people. And he just was like, I liked it because, I could get Dr. Pepper whenever I wanted, and I didn't have to go to Catholic school anymore.
My dad got kicked out of the seminary. For some reason, when he was like 15, he had to go to the seminary. I don't know the circumstances around it. It had to be something crazy, though. And he went to the seminary, and then he got kicked out of the seminary.
I used to wrestle in high school, and I would always run into people that grew up in the same area as my dad. And they'd be like, "Oh, I know your dad from high school." And I was like, "Oh, you went to Roland High?" And he was like, "No, I met your dad at this high school." Like 7 different high schools I've heard people knew my dad from because he'd been kicked out of so many.
What was your finisher when you wrestled in high school?
Well, there's no finishers. You just pin them.
Who booked that shit?
Sounds
high
like
school.
some Jim Cornette stuff,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Small
Bill
package
Watts.
every match, yeah.
They used to give us passes to go lose weight. So, like, you get to skip class all day, and you'd go to the wrestling room and lose weight.
Yeah.
And then they had to shut that down because the cleaning lady came in, and she was like, "I don't know what you guys are doing in here, but I keep finding semen in the locker room." So you guys can't be coming up here during class anymore.
Losing weight, 10 cc's at a time.
Yeah.
Kids weren't jerking off. They would bring in the stat girls, and then they would run through the stat girls, and then pull out and come on the floor. And that's how we kept getting in trouble.
What did they run through?
The stat girls. So there's girls that hang out on the team that just keep the score, and then have sex with some of the wrestlers.
Which
Whoa! You had this in your high school?
Yes.
Why the fuck didn't I go there? Where was I?
you could have had a finisher. You could have had.
I know my finisher would have been on the fucking blonde.
Finisher was in the dressing room.
Yep.
You had fucking your own goddamn ring rats?
Yes.
Which makes
Oh,
it
cut it out.
There was like 10 girls that were always just hanging out in the wrestling room.
And the school knew about it?
We came from a,
Which makes a.
I went to an okay school, but yeah, there was
Were
a
they
lot of
older
stuff like
girls
that.
or some shit?
Any like 9th through 12th grade, all through. Some of them weren't even
so
stat
you-
girls; they were just friends of stat girls. They'd show up and.
Would y'all fuck
Thanks.
the stat girls?
I didn't lose my virginity until I was like in college.
Yeah,
So-
but were people doing it though?
yeah, people were doing it all the time.
Damn it! Where was this shit
All the time.
when I was in school?
You'd go into the locker room and there would be kids playing Madden, and then all of a sudden the locker room would just be closed, and then you'd come out and like 3 or 4 kids would just kind of walk out, and that was that.
That sounds like a fucking paradise.
Fontana.
All you had to do was go to
Sexual paradise.
I know where I want my kids to grow up.
You'd,
It's fucking Fontana.
you'd go to the coach and you'd be like, I'm 3 pounds overweight, and he'd write you a pass, and you just give it to your teacher, and you were out of school for the rest of the day.
And then I can imagine all the people are just in the locker room just doing it, and Kevin's there on the like exercise bike with
Trying
the
to
trash
actually
bag
lose
suit,
the weight,
Trying
yeah.
to lose weight.
Trying to actually
oh,
lose
maybe
the
I need to
weight.
cut my hair off. You know.
Fuck, man, if I have a kid, it's like you're going to Fontana and you're taking wrestling. It's like, Dad, I don't want to go out for wrestling.
You're doing it.
Y'all enjoy it. Y'all enjoy it.
It'll make you a man.
Take this face paint.
Make sure you overeat so you can get one that passes.
Yeah.
Can somebody write me one of them passes now? Fuck. Where was this shit? I went to a damn Catholic school. If you didn't get laid, you were lucky because the only one you got laid with was a priest.
Everyone I knew that went to Catholic school has all the crazy, like, I had sex when I was 12, and the girls would tell me, like, guys would pull you into the bathroom and just whip out their wieners and show them to you. Those are all the Catholic school stories I ever heard.
no,
I never knew anybody that
at my
had sex with a
Catholic
priest.
school.
This is with guys, is it?
No, they would have the Catholic school. I guess they would, like, they keep you guys apart, obviously, right? There's no
No,
all
there's no.
boys.
All
It was
boys.
in my
It's all
school.
boys.
It was co-ed. The only thing that made my school a Catholic school, really, like on the face, was that you had to take religion class and
Okay.
wear a uniform, and that was the extent of. We had to go to mass too. Like we had to go to mass, and then they had like living stations of the cross or something like that, where the same guy every year had to be Jesus and go through the Passion of the Christ.
He's gonna get a
in the
complex.
gym.
See, when you said that, I thought maybe every day you would just have to stand there and be the living station. Like,
Yeah.
Like a tableau.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, every day. Oh, God, I got Barabbas again.
Yeah.
Come on.
Do your guys' dads wear tighty whities?
Yes.
Because I have a theory that when you're a dad, like you have to like take on the tighty whities as like kind of a toga praetexta or
I don't
something like
mind
To be
that.
doesn't.
fair,
I
I
don't
like the
think he
Roman
does.
reference.
Yeah.
I think it's a generational thing.
Really?
Yeah, because I think, like, because I've noticed just like people of a certain age, like people born before like the late 70s, early 80s
Yeah.
tend to wear them.
Are tidy whities dun-dun-duns? Are they the same thing?
It's just
Sorry?
it's just them regular drawers.
What's a dun-dun-dun?
You never heard dun-dun-dun? They would do that to kids. So they're the ones, they're like the V-shaped ones,
Yeah,
right? They're not
yeah.
the boxer briefs?
Right, right.
Yeah.
It's the ones that, like, the superheroes wear, and it's like, dun-dun-dun, Superman! And the little kids always run out, and they're like, I guess it's a
Yeah.
Mexican thing, though. They always run like, dun-dun-dun!
I've never heard that. That's what
No, my dad does not wear dun-dun-duns then.
I thought that was a dad thing. I always thought that like when you become, because like my fiance and I are talking about, you know, when we have kids and stuff like that. We're having discussions about that. And part of
Whether
my
or not
mind,
you need to switch to tidy.
yeah, do I have to switch to tidy whities? Is that like a thing where it's like a status symbol? You know, like in some tribes they have particular status symbols to show who's like a father or
the
who's
elder
like, you know,
statesman.
who's the elder statesman. like is the elder statesman of America. Like, you know, you're a dad and you have to wear tighty whities. I don't.
Does your dad have his sayings that make no sense, but he loves to tell you over?
A
And
lot
over?
of dad humor.
A lot
My
of dad
dad's a
humor, right?
Is your dad a dad humor?
Yeah.
guy?
God daddy, but
Guys,
weird daddy. My dad would call and we'd have a long conversation, and then he always made a point to say, "I love you" all the time.
Yeah, my dad
And he'd be
too.
like, "I love you, I love you." Now, real quick, what am I never gonna do? And as a kid, we all had to respond, "You ain't never gonna bump with no big fat woman." And he would be like, "That's right," and then he would hang up the phone. That was how every conversation ended with my dad. That, and he liked to order pizzas. And when he did that, he had this really long Spanish name. And they'd be like, "What's your name?" He'd be like, "My name is Juan Guadalupe Hidalgo Macias III." And like he would do it's even longer than that. And he thought it was the funniest thing.
Yeah.
He would do that over and over again. And he would swerve on the freeway
Yeah.
just to scare us. He thought that was funny.
My
too.
dad is big on the well, not so much because he's mellowed out. My dad's gone into this very he's like gluten free, but he like does it in this very like gruff way, like, "Yeah, I'm not eating bread. Yeah, it's gonna make me fat. Yeah, yeah, you need to, you know, stay around and stuff. Just, you know, don't get the wheat belly. You know, just like kind of just very gruff because it's got to be macho. Like,
Yeah.
you know, anything, even if it's the most like kind of hippie, crunchy sort of thing, it's got to be like, "No, this is a dude thing. You know, us dudes, we don't eat bread. You know,
Yeah.
me and Chris Jericho, we don't eat bread."
It's hard to have a sandwich that way.
Is he doing the DDP yoga yet?
No, he should.
Christmas present.
Yeah.
Send him the DDP yoga.
My dad really got into. My dad would do some like he's kind of would get whims with his working out. Like he would
Yeah.
just work out for, like, and just get really into it because my dad's kind of one of those people that's a slave to his whims, much like myself. Where you just get into something and you just go with it like a hobby.
Right.
And I remember my dad really getting into lifting weights. So he bought the Arnold bodybuilding guide.
Right.
With all the hairy guys doing, just all hairy guys. And he would go out and he bought like gym shorts at Walmart that were like up to here. Just like the dad, like the, the softies that like cheerleaders wear. And he would just go out at 5 o'clock in the
Grape
morning.
smugglers.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5 o'clock in the morning and just lift weights. Just
My
like
dad's very
lift in
similar.
weights. And then he did it for like 3 months and then he stopped. So, but like, I think my dad would really be into the DDP yoga sort of thing.
My dad was very similar with
you know what
the
you're doing,
always have to have like an edge. To
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I had to go visit him in prison. I didn't have to. I went to go visit him in prison. I went to go visit him in
What did
prison
he go,
one time.
What did you go to prison for?
What did he go for?
Yeah.
I don't really know. I'm not 100%. When I was a little kid,
country
my
song.
dad went to prison for bank robberies.
Okay.
And then he got in trouble again when I was like a sophomore in high
Yeah.
school. And I'm not exactly sure what it was. I just remember him being like, this might be like my third strike. So, and it wasn't, but that was eventually what we went to prison for. But I'm visiting him one time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is what I'm going to tell him, that I do stand up. And every guy that does stand up has a story of like, my dad doesn't support me, kind of. And I tell him, like, I do stand up in San Francisco. And his response to that was, do you do it where Ellen does it? I just love watching her show. That is the best. And I was like, Dad, you watch Ellen in prison? And he was like, yeah, what the fuck of it? I was like, whoa, I'm so sorry. That's the same prison visit where there was a prisoner sitting next to me, and you had to bring in dollar bills, and they had to count all your dollar bills when you walked in and when you left. Someone had bought in a burrito and didn't eat it. And the guy leaned over to me and he was like, hey, do you want this burrito? And I was like, sure, because I was hungry. And my dad like pushed that guy's hand out of the way. He's like, hey, yo, man, why don't you keep your own fucking burrito? You don't need your shit. And I was like, holy fuck, am I going to start a race riot because I took this guy's burrito? This is insane. My dad hates Kanye West.
Yeah.
Because he said in prison, when Kanye took the mic from Taylor Swift, they had to lock down the entire prison because there was almost a race riot over why did that black man take that mic from that white woman. There was almost a brawl in the yard. They had to lock everybody up so that nothing happened after that.
Jesus.
I always thought they watched baseball in jail.
No, apparently you get televisions and there's a lot of amenities in prison.
I'm just imagining your dad building like a birdhouse and stuff like
Yeah.
that. You know,
Real
don't
soft
get your
shit.
hands off my wood glue, motherfucker. You know?
Back up.
Make a little birdhouse in your soul, not to put too fine a point on it. Say I'm the only bee in your bonnet. Make a little birdhouse in your soul.
My dad was a wordsmith when it came to profanity because he was a sailor and he was also
Your dad
just like
literally
this.
cusses like a sailor.
Oh yeah. Oh god, yeah. Just like me and him back and forth. My mom will just be like, "You guys have to use that language." He's like, "Yeah, Patrick, don't use that fucking word," you know. But he would just come up with he was like a wordsmith when driving, just like, "What are you looking at, you fish-eyed fuck stick?" It's just like, what does that mean? And he'd be like, "Oh, we used to say that." It's just like, no, you didn't. You know?
The only time my dad gets intense, like
Yeah.
he's one of the most chill people. He's never that intense unless it's game day. He gets super intense
yeah.
about Auburn and will be in the living room watching, and like my whole life, like Saturday in the falls equals just me in my room hearing this in the other room. Oh, God damn it, Auburn! God damn it! Oh, shit, God! Or alternately, whoa! War Eagle, motherfucker, yeah! That's as intense as that man gets, but only for college football.
My dad's football watching just entails him rooting for Tom Brady to get injured. You know?
Mine too. Mine's a big Raiders fan. So
Yeah.
when they lost on the tuck rule,
Yeah.
I was afraid that I was gonna get beat that whole day because the fucking Raiders lost. He still gets angry every time Tony Siragusa comes on the screen. Because there was that game where the Raiders were supposed to go to the Super Bowl and Siragusa sat on Rich Gannon's shoulder.
Yeah,
and broke it.
Yeah.
And every time he comes, you fat fuck, Tony Siragusa, I hate you.
My dad just roots for. I remember when Tom Brady was out that one season with the broken leg or
When he was
patella
broken in
problem.
game one.
Yeah, and my dad was just like, yeah, you saw Tom Brady get hurt? I was like, yeah, that's insane. He was just like, yeah, it sucks. They didn't break his neck. You know?
I gotta say, I love Tom Brady.
I love Tom Brady myself.
I hate him.
No,
I'm a
Tom Brady.
No.
I'll tell you why. Tom Brady is a great man.
No,
he
he's
has
not.
long hair and
No.
he fucks supermodels.
I'm sorry.
And
Wears
all
Ugg
the-
boots.
and
He
all
doesn't
these-
wear an Ugg boot.
Now, here's why come it is that pro athletes have to be respectable people and live respectable lives and not take drugs.
Yeah.
Where like musicians, movie stars, every other celebrity does
no,
what
AI ain't about that life.
please.
AI ain't about that life.
Because here it is. Lawrence Taylor could do whatever the fuck he wants. He could smoke crack before a game
And he
and
pretty
rip
much
people's
did.
heads off, and he pretty much did. Where that stupid dangly LT looks like a lightning bolt earring on.
Yeah.
You know, he could do whatever, and we don't hold him.
WrestleMania.
Yeah, anybody that's an athlete that's not held up as some sort of paragon of virtue that people will be kissing his butt, talking about, I want my son to be like him. No! The media. It's
The
sports
media?
The sports media has created.
It's this liberal media.
Has created Tom Brady as being this paragon of virtue, this demigod.
Paragon
right?
of virtue. They think fucking what's his ass is? The boy just lost the Super Bowl.
Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning is the sacred cow. Of
He
the
is the
fucking
sacred cow.
NFL.
He
It's
is.
not, bro. It's not
No,
Tom.
it's
He
Tom
crapped
Brady.
out that Super Bowl, and I still heard them make an excuse for him on the radio. I remember 10 years ago, they would have a discussion, who's the best quarterback in the NFL, Brady or Manning? And at the time, Brady had 2 rings, and Manning had none.
Yeah.
Trent Dilfer has a ring.
How can you not like Tom Brady? Tom Brady
I can't
is
stand Tom
Brady
Brady.
is the dream. He's the American dream.
No.
He's picked. Was he 186th in the draft? He's at the end of the draft.
Because he was
Exactly.
a fat.
He's not supposed
'cause he
to be
was
there.
fat.
He's
Because he
not
was
supposed
fat.
to be there. He's not supposed to be getting everybody. He lost
Kurt
his starting
Warner,
job.
Kurt
Kurt Warner is a
fucking team
better
around.
American dream. I'm sorry, Kurt Warner's stocking shelves at a Hy-Vee grocery store. I don't care if he's like, you
I
know,
put him on the
like-
same. I put him on the same
son
show.
of a plumber from Austin, Texas? No, there's only one American dream, and that's Dusty Rhodes. But Tom
But he's
Brady
the Iowa
lives,
dream,
Tom
all right?
Brady lives an admirable lifestyle because if I had his money, you can be damn sure I'd be fucking all the goddamn supermodels I wanted to too, and I would not be nobody's fucking role model.
I always tried to be cool on the block because my brother was really cool. So I always tried to fit in with him and his older friends. So we were playing football, and I brought the football. And then this kid, we were like, I talk a lot of trash when I play sports, and he slapped me in the face, and he took off running, and he caught the ball, and he had to jump to catch it, and I grabbed him, and I kicked him in the balls. And then he beat the shit out of me for that. Like, rightfully so. And I walked...
After his balls healed.
After his balls healed, I took the ball and I went home. I was like, I'm not doing this. And then right when I walked to the door, I was crying, and my dad called. And then he was like, what are you crying for? And I was like, Vinny punched me. And he, like, drove to my house. He lived, like, a mile away. Drove to my house with my older brother and his friend, who was, like, this big old... He was a huge guy. He's, like, 16, though. And they drove to that kid's house. And then my dad had, like, a camper in his truck, which we were all in. He just opened it, and he looked at my brother and his friend. He's like, you go in there, and you beat their ass, or I'll beat your ass. And they just took off running and just beat the shit out of these kids in the garage. The guy who hit me, his older brother, used to airbrush. Like, the big old, like, he was Mexican, so big old Aztecs holding women and stuff. Yeah. And it was like, it was
like taco place.
Yeah, just like that. It was like 7 feet
like
tall.
Our Lady of Guadalupe.
Exactly. The things you get on those calendars from church.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, why come they sell votive candles at the Mexican food part of the supermarket?
I don't like that it just says Hispanic foods. Like, that's always a little offensive.
Oh, we should point that out. You're actually Hispanic.
I am Mexican, yes.
They have
Mexican.
good women.
They do. As a kid, my uncle would point out Mexican women, and he would always be like, get them before they're 25, because it all goes to shit after that.
He was a great man.
He knew what he was talking about. He's a scholar.
Beating the shit out of people.
It was a big thing. It was a big thing. They love to do that.
What up with the airbrush?
Oh, he threw my brother grabbed a kid and he threw him through that airbrush painting. They beat the shit out of the kid that beat the shit out of me.
Cartoon in his head was just
boom. There was another kid.
Adia, that's all, folks.
His face goes through the Aztec guy's face and it comes out. Yeah. There was a third kid in there that never got punched because he was just sitting in the corner crying, like, stop hitting my friends, stop hitting my friends. And
your brother kicked his life's ass.
My brother's shorter and skinnier than me. He's a little guy, but he was so afraid of getting beat up. He just was like ripping on this kid. But they get on the phone. They called the cops, and we're still standing in the garage while they're on the phone with the cops. And the guy that got thrown through the glass, he was like, "This man hit me," and he's pointing at my dad. And my dad didn't touch anybody. He just made sure they didn't get out of the garage while they were getting their beating.
He just drove.
So
he was the Charles Manson of the situation.
Yes.
He just drove
never
the
did
car.
any of the crimes. He just sent the people to do his work.
He just unleashed a pack of wild children.
Yes. And he was like, this man hit me. And then my brother's friend was like, he didn't hit you. I hit you. And while he's on the phone with the cops, he punched him in the temple. And that kid flew like 3 feet into like a pile of laundry. And then my dad went home, and he packed his bag, and he put on some sweats and a white T-shirt, and I was like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm probably going to go to prison right now. So I would like to be comfortable. Remember what your brother did for you. I expect the same from you later in life.
Wow.
I've still never been in a fight in my life.
Did he go to jail?
Yeah, eventually, yeah, but not for that. Because he didn't do anything. But yeah, my dad...
Did he punch the guy in the temple before he could get the address to the cop?
My dad never hit anybody. That guy hit him, and no one ever pressed charges. The cops came, and we yelled at each other for a little while, and then the cops were just like, maybe you guys should just go home. And that was it. I'm hoping his beatings lead me to make the Thriller album of comedy.
I think they will.
I'm hoping.
I'm
hoping so. If I ever get an award, it's going up there. It's like, thank you, Fontana. Dad, Mom said, say what's up. Fuck you guys, I'm out. Drop the Golden Globe and walk off stage. That's my drop in the
yeah,
mic.
but then your dad is at the door, so you're going to beat the shit out of
Yeah, we'll beat the shit out of you. You don't go pick up that Golden Globe.
It's time for the Disgraceland Picayune, everybody.
Okay.
We've got our local papers, been showing up every day. Thumb through it, found some...
I like that paper because they carry pluggers in it, which is one of my favorite comic strips.
Yeah, it's got everything you want, and we've got a subscription.
Everything you need, and it's magic guaranteed.
That's right. So this first story is...
Is that Vertical Horizon?
Oh, God, they're the fucking worst.
What was their song? What was their hit?
I made a contract with God back in 2003 that I would age... My body would break down, I'd experience loss, I'd get old, but in return, I wouldn't have to hear Vertical Horizon ever again.
Okay, this first story, headline, but I want to watch! This is Flagler County, Florida.
Oh, yeah. Yep, Flagler.
A 65-year-old Flagler County man is accused of threatening tree trimmers and pointing a gun at one of them.
Yeah.
Lee Williams was arrested Monday afternoon at his daughter's home in Palm Coast.
Palm Coast.
He is charged with aggravated...
Good Walmart. It's a good Walmart in Palm Coast.
Is it at the supermarket?
Yeah.
He's
Solid parking lot.
He's charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Investigators said workers were hired by his daughter to cut down trees and grind the stumps. The workers repeatedly asked Williams to stay inside so he wouldn't get hurt, but Williams wanted to watch. When they said no, Williams allegedly produced a gun, pointed it at one of the men, threatening to shoot if they didn't get off his property. Deputy said Williams told them the workers were being rude and unfriendly.
Okay, yeah.
So
What kind of gun was it?
it doesn't say, but
Okay.
What the hell kind of journalism is that?
Yeah, I know.
They could have just asked.
As a
Doesn't give me the facts I want.
As a guy that has peed in the McDonald's in Palm Coast bathroom many a times on road trips because it's very convenient between Jacksonville and Melbourne. It's like right about that time when you have to take a leak.
Yeah.
People will produce guns for no reason in Florida.
yeah.
And I think after the Stand Your Ground law, it gave them license essentially, and people will just pull out guns for no reason. And their sense of honor is really weird in Florida because they're senile and rednecks.
Well,
But they don't have that samurai shit where once like the gun is drawn, it must draw blood or I have to kill myself.
Well, no, I mean that's the. I wish, you know.
well, this story ties in particularly well to the topic because I feel like this is the whole thing was the guy goes to his daughter's house.
Yeah.
His daughter has hired these tree trimmers.
Right.
She's brought in an unnecessary crew of men to do what this man should be doing. I feel like, it says he's 65, he's a little bit older, but I think this man probably feels like it was his right to trim these trees. And this is why he feels threatened by this.
My comment about it is that I'm just glad they said it's alleged, because I think coming from the son of a prisoner, you're not guilty until you go to court. But
Yeah.
for some reason,
Yeah.
in America, once you get caught for something or you're in trouble for something, they come to your house, and then the news vans come to your house, and then your
Right.
shitty neighbors just love to come out and talk trash about you,
Yeah.
and convict
On
you
the
before you
local
even get to
news.
the case.
I agree. I believe if you have not been convicted of something, they should not be able to use your name.
They should not say who you are. They should not be interviewing children. They should not be doing any of that stuff. But they love to come through, and your neighbor who's never done anything with his life sees his 15 minutes right before his eyes, just goes out and be like, yeah, I saw him pull the gun, and I don't like him very much. One time, he peed on my lawn, and they just
He's
use that
weird.
opportunity.
He always has that mosaic stuff over his face. I don't trust him.
I don't like it. He plays Tupac's California Love way too loud.
But there is a dad sort of thing. You're right, because I remember we had Africanized killer bees in our yard one time. And
That was like that was my nightmare growing up.
Yeah.
Back
And-
in the 70s, hadn't they predicted they would have taken over the country? by
Yeah,
now?
yeah. We would have a killer bee president. But it would
But
be
B. Brian Blair isn't even running.
It would actually technically be the first female president because Queen Bee.
Was that a movie?
My dad, but nonetheless, my dad was so hurt that he couldn't partake in taking these Africanized killer bees out. The guy had the bee man. My dad loved the bee guy because he was like, "This is the coolest thing ever." He has this like hazmat suit,
Oh, the
and he has
beekeeper
like
suit.
but it's like a hazmat suit. He's got to be the super one because the stingers are such aggressive, and the stingers they could go through the conventional beekeeper suit.
Yeah.
So he had this like hazmat chainmail outfit on and a bee vacuum. Like a vacuum to vacuum
Like a
up
shop
all the
vac?
bees. Essentially, yeah. So it's a shop vac for bees. And my dad was so hurt that he couldn't participate and partake in that sort of thing because he was just like, I tried to bargain with him. I was like, "Do you have another one of those suits?" And he's like, "No." And there's the insurance. My dad was like, "I was so hurt," but I watched through the window, and I was like, "Man, I want to do this. After I retire, I want to be the bee man."
The bee man.
Yeah. Because there's a thing with dads.
to have
There's
dreams.
a thing with dads.
I'm just now picturing you in the little bee girl costume from the Blind Melon video.
I bet you that chick is hot now.
I think we were the people on the block that nobody liked, so we didn't have many of those stories. One time, my dad didn't pay the electricity bill, and it got shut off, so he just went to the neighbor's house, and he knocked on the door, and he was like, "Look, our power's off, so we're going to need to run a cable from your house into
He
our
showed up
house."
with the extension cord. In
Just
hand.
showed up with the extension cord. He's like, "I need to turn on the TV for the kids to keep them entertained." And then he called the electricity company. My little brother, the one below me, was a heart transplant. So he called the electricity company. He's like, "Look, I got a kid here. He's a heart transplant. I know I didn't pay the bill, but if you turn off the power, the refrigerator doesn't work, his medicine's going to go bad, and he's going to die. Would you like his blood on your hands?" all of his medicine was dry. It was never in the fridge. It was never in the fridge. He just did that to get the lights turned back on.
Fuck yeah, man.
He was also the guy that when they turned off the water, he would just grab a wrench and go outside and turn it back on.
Yeah, that's what you do.
This is the next story, and this is my favorite story of the whole week.
You're done with that. Can I read the funnies?
The headline:
So
Can I do the
Tracer.
crossword?
A man, an enormous plexiglass box, and a beloved Harley on their way to heaven.
Yes.
Mechanicsburg, Ohio. Which, by the way, is the best fucking name for a town in Ohio. Mechanicsburg.
Yeah.
An Ohio man's family is fulfilling his dying wish to be buried astride his beloved Harley-Davidson motorcycle encased in a see-through casket. But it hasn't been easy. Their project required the purchase of 3 cemetery plots to accommodate the plexiglass casket for Billy Stanley and his hulking, custom-painted 1967 Electra Glide Cruiser. 5 embalmers worked day and night to prepare his body.
Did they embalm the motorcycle too? Put like formaldehyde in the tank? Did they
You
embalm
don't want it
the
to
motorcycle?
rust.
They prepared his body with a metal back brace and straps to ensure he'll never lose his seat. Stanley's family said they'd been talking about it for years and liked to take people to the garage to show off the unusual casket. He told people he did.
Billy Stanley, my undertaker has built a special casket for you. SummerSlam, you and your motorcycle are going to the great below.
It would be the
Rest in peace.
wait, that's like the perfect combination of like 2000s American Badass Undertaker and the original gimmick is the motorcycle casket match.
Yes.
My father has an amazing burial wish. My father works on nuclear missiles that are launched out of submarines.
They're going to need a lot of cemetery plots to bury.
So
the
check this
submarine.
out. My dad is a huge Hunter S. Thompson fan, and he always thought it was awesome that Hunter S. Thompson would have his ashes in the fireworks display.
Shot out of the cannon, yeah.
So what my dad's going to have done is that he's going to have his ashes
In a nuclear bomb.
shot out of a nuclear missile, a Trident nuclear missile, because what they do is they put dummy warheads. So essentially what a Trident missile is like it's a canister where it's almost like a revolver where the individual warheads are like the bullets. So it'll go, it'll shoot multiple warheads out.
Yeah, yeah.
So he wants to have his ashes put into one of these dummy warheads and just shot out of this this nuclear missile.
That's pretty awesome.
That is badass.
That is
Has he
pretty
talked to
badass.
the Navy about it yet?
I don't know if he's officially talked to the Navy, but he's told it to enough people, and he could probably get it done.
What is up with those dads, these types of dads that like they lean towards cremation? Or just like, I don't need a place for you to come. I just need you to
Yeah.
spray me
No,
somewhere across this earth.
Yeah.
My mom called me about a year ago, right after when I moved here last Christmas, and she called me and she was like, so you had a good Christmas? I was like, yeah, it was good. She was like, got the care package we sent you? I was like, yeah, I got it. She's like, you know what me and Dad got each other for Christmas? I was like, what's that? It's like, oh, we got each other cremated.
They already paid for it?
Yeah, they
It's all
paid
set
for
up?
it. Yeah, so they were like, she was like, so just go in my filing cabinet, and there's all the papers.
Merry Christmas.
My dad actually once said to me, he was like, it's all bullshit. I want to go like the Indians. I just want you to let me out on a mountain, and I'll just walk up the mountain, and that'll be it.
Yeah. I like that idea.
Austrian sort of thing,
You know,
or a
yeah,
sky burial.
I wanted to go to ground like a dog.
We started thinking about that. We get morbid subjects, but I always thought if I had to die somehow, if I was going to die and I knew I was going to die that day, I would go to Little Bighorn and just hang around the Custer battlefield and die at the Little Bighorn.
Yeah.
Like drop dead at the battlefield.
See, that sounds
That's
great.
a good idea.
I would
That's a good idea.
I would go to the zoo and
The
try-
Liquid
Jump in
Zoo?
the tiger pit. I got to do a last 5 minutes.
Yeah,
at
do my
Liquid
7
Zoo.
minute set. Say my
Ron
goodbyes to
Swallow.
Ron
I've got to say my goodbyes. No, I would go into the tiger.
Would you pay the $3 for the drink to get on stage? So,
Come on, Mia, hook me up.
I would
Come on,
fight
Mia.
a tiger at Liquid Zoo.
It's inside base.
I would go into the zoo, and I would, if I'm old, I'm about to die, I'm frail, I go to the zoo, and I would fight the tiger.
That's good.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever wonder about your funeral sometimes?
No, I never
never
think about it, no.
I think the worst part about a funeral is you finally get all that praise you were looking for, and it's the one day that you can't be there to hear it all.
You never know who cared.
The last sentence here just says, quote, he'd done right by us all these years, and the least we could do was see that he goes out the way he wanted to, and that was from his son. And I agree.
am American badass. Watch me quick.
So
I own both of those albums, by the way.
Billy,
I bought with my own money Boys to Men, Babyface, Kid Rock, and that fucking Limp Bizkit.
before I close up this issue of the Disgraceland Picayune,
Okay.
be remiss to not stop by a place where everybody knows your name. Indianapolis, Indiana. A man smacked a waitress in the face with a bag of takeout food. Police said after arguing with the woman over the amount of tips she deserved, officers were dispatched to the Waffle House on Pendleton Pike at 3:05 a.m. today, according to the Lawrence Police Department.
Pendleton Pike.
Yeah, this is in Indianapolis to investigate the disturbance. When they arrived, the waitress, a 28-year-old Indianapolis woman, told officers that a customer had just assaulted her. The waitress handed the 31-year-old man a bag of takeout food. She told police then the two briefly argued over the amount. The tip that he left, the man was leaving the restaurant when the waitress walked out from behind the counter to follow him. She told police and returned the tip since it was, quote, obviously a big deal to him, according to the report. The man turned around and pushed the waitress, she told the police, and then swung the bag of takeout food at her, and it said it hit her in the face. And what I say to
How much
this
was the
is,
tip?
it doesn't say how much that she left, but what I will say to this is, fuck this guy. 2 reasons. 1, don't hit a lady. 2, don't
Fair
get
enough.
takeout at the fucking Waffle House.
Yeah.
Sit down and eat your meal like
Yeah, I
a
know.
fucking man.
I've never been to a Waffle House, but what if you just have a hankering for waffles and you just got to go? Like, you don't have time.
You can make your own at home.
Is that not a thing?
You can.
yeah,
you,
Waffle
I've done
House is the main
takeout
thing is
Waffle
they can
House one
open,
time.
Like 24
Waffle House
hours.
is
Okay.
Waffle House is only good the first minute they bring it to you. It's
Yeah.
amazing, but if you let it sit and coagulate and congeal,
I lived near a
It's the two of the
waffle. I
most
lived near a
disgusting
Waffle
words ever.
House, and I would phone in my Waffle House order every once in a while, grab it because I would be going back
Right,
from.
okay.
It'd be on the way, so maybe he was doing that, or
Did
maybe
you ever,
or maybe he's a shut-in.
If
Maybe
I
he's a
had
shut-in.
Tom Brady style money, I would just like every time with the Waffle House, I'd find like the cutest little ugly girl there, and I would fuck her. Like that works.
Wait a minute.
I like to dream big.
Tom Brady style money or Tiger Woods style money? Because that's what he did. That was how.
Tiger
Yeah.
Woods was fucking Waffle House girls.
When all
Tiger
those
Woods was
women,
fucking
when all those
everybody.
women came out, they were all just like bottom basement
and
waitresses.
shit. Yeah,
Well, that was the first
From,
thing
like,
I liked
Cracker
about
Barrels
Tiger
and
Woods. Well,
stuff.
I would do that seriously because sometimes you just like
Well,
to get a little bit dirty.
the Cracker Barrel girls are a little
Yeah,
more.
I don't do
Are they
Cracker
upper-
Barrel. This
lower
Waffle
class,
House.
upper class? I don't know. I've never been either. Did you ever call in your orders to the Waffle House because you didn't want to wait for the food when you got
Yeah.
there? So you thought,
Yeah,
like,
that's the whole
the
point.
20-minute drive to the Waffle House, and then my food is
but it would
ready
be
when I
on the
get
way.
there.
It would be on the way.
Did you eat at the Waffle House? Or did you pick it
No,
up to go?
I'd pick it up and just go home.
I like to call orders into places so that when I show up, I could sit down and have my meal and it's already ready. Because I don't want to wait 20 minutes to get there and then 40 minutes for the food to get me. I'm hungry
Right.
now. So you call it in so it's there when you're there.
I would definitely do that at Waffle House, and because sometimes the Waffle House is too crowded too.
Okay.
So
I
that
hate that
I hate that too.
because they always want to fucking talk to you.
yeah.
And I don't want to talk
And
to you.
I don't
want
want to listen to some
House.
guy with a friggin' army jacket talking about chemtrails
Yeah.
taking up my seats.
See, I like,
No.
I like sitting in a
join in.
Waffle House by myself. And if they want to talk to you, you can find some interesting shit. Like I had a waiter who was very nice, and then the grill cook. I was the only person in there. It was just the 3 of us, and the grill cook was like, I was writing jokes and stuff, and he was just like, "Oh, what are you doing?" I was like, "I'm writing jokes." He's like, "Oh," he's like, I thought you were writing songs." I was like, "Nah." He's like, "I'm a singer. Do you want to hear my singing?" I was like,
No.
yeah.
No.
I was like, "Yeah,
No.
hell yeah,
You're
man."
the only one that says yes to that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta
Well,
live.
there was
bro.
nothing to do in
My
Auburn
dad,
then.
my dad refuses.
And-
My
no,
dad
but hear me
refuses
out.
to eat at Waffle
he
House.
fucking I walk. He goes. He's like, "Hey Maggie, watch the grill." And we walk out to the back, and he plays me his songs, and he has the voice of an angel. Like his songs
Was he
were
good?
I don't care.
beautiful.
That's kind of a
he
sad
had
tale.
No, it was tragic. And the
It
thing
was-
is, well, here's the thing. I was running my variety show at the time, so it was mostly comedy, but I would have music acts, and I was like, "Oh, do you want to come? Play on my show? You sound
Yeah.
amazing." He's like, "I don't play an instrument. I just sing."
Did
Whoa.
he disappear then because he was Jesus?
Yeah, I guess so, man.
Did you make a lifelong friend out of this? You should have.
No,
John
no.
Travolta in
That
the
was the
movie
only
Michael?
time I ever interacted with the guy. But
All right, I'm out, you guys.
Spirit in the sky. Doing that little dance, the spirit in the sky.
I love
God,
you,
that
brother.
movie was a turd.
I love you, brother. I swear, brother, you made my year with that shit.
One time we were at a Denny's and we said it was our friend's birthday, so they're like, "Well, you got to hear the cook in the back. He sings like an angel." And they go get the cook, and his name was like Caesar or something. He didn't speak English at all, except for the words to Happy Birthday. He knew all the words to Happy Birthday. And he comes out and he's like, "Hola, ¿cómo estás? ¿Cómo estás? Estoy bien. ¿Y tú bien? Okay, sí, sí, sí." And I was like, this guy doesn't know Happy Birthday. And then, like a fucking opera singer, belted out the most beautiful Happy Birthday
And that's
I've
a tough song
ever
to-
heard.
It's almost
Ever.
as hard as the Star Spangled Banner to.
Everybody is amazed with their jaw open, and I laughed so hard I cried and fell out of my chair. And everybody was just like, "Stop disrespecting this man."
Kevin, where can people find you on the internet, sir?
Kevin Macias on Google. That'll find me.
Yeah.
That'll lead to things about me.
KevinMacias.gov.
That'll give you a link to my Facebook, I think. On Twitter, it's Kevin P. Macias. On Instagram, it's Kevin P. Macias. On my Facebook, it's Kevin P. Macias.
That's right.
My middle name is
I like
Philip.
the
My dad gave it
You
to me.
gotta have consistency.
Gotta stay strong
What
with
does P
it.
stand for?
Philip.
Philip.
It was my
Like
dad's
Philip
middle.
of Macedon.
That's
He
right.
was a dad.
Yeah.
And his son was
Alexander.
Can I say one thing before we go to Rivers?
Yes,
Just
sir.
Say one thing about my daddy.
Yes, sir.
Because, I don't like to bring it up because I don't want this to turn into a Red Sylvain song, but my daddy dead.
Yeah.
But he was a great man, and he trained me and my brother. He actually, when we were young, he got us into wrestling. He pretty much forced us into it.
Uh-huh.
And he took my brother, who we thought was the most likely candidate, and sat him down and made him watch Kamala.
Uh-huh.
And that ended up changing everybody's life over the years. There was my daddy, and he was kind of like the Angelo Poffo. And me and my brother were kind of like the Randy Savage and the Lanny Poffo.
Yeah.
Shit like that.
What was your dad's finisher?
My dad's finisher, probably an elbow drop.
Okay.
Or something like that. Maybe an off the top rope one.
Gotta be off the top.
Yeah.
Hurricane Rana.
Yeah.
Yeah, or he'd shoot people with my BB gun. He used to shoot at rats with it. But that's
Can I tell one more dad story before
Yeah,
we go?
do it.
My favorite thing my dad did to my friends was whenever they first met him, he liked to scare them. So we'd bring him in, and I'd be like, "Hey, this is my dad. Dad, this is Nick. Nick, this is my dad." And he would grab. It didn't matter how old he was. He would grab the kid by his chest, and he would flip him upside down, and he would grab him by his ankle and slam him against a wall. And then he would be like, "Kids, get the nails! I'm gonna hammer him to the wall." And then when the kid freaked out, he'd be like, "Oh, I'm just kidding. I'm Kevin's dad. Just make yourself at home."
Well, thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks, Dad.
We'll see you next week. And by the way, you can follow us on Twitter at TheGoodsPod, on Facebook.com/TheGoodsPod. And you know what I snapped up yesterday? YouTube.com/TheGoodsPod. So hopefully we'll be having some stuff from them.
very enterprising, Rivers. Very enterprising.
Yes, sir. We'll see you next week. The Goods from the Woods is mixed and edited by me, Rivers Langley, and distributed by Westcast Network. Our theme song is composed by DJ Smiles. You can find him online at djsmiles.net.